You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
I'd be listening to the mainstream media and just be left frustrated on how they covered these stories. They would completely ignore facts just to promote their own agenda. I said, man, I could do a better job than these fools. I should start my own show. So I did. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Freedom Strips. I'm your host, Keaton Tucker. I'm just going to host a little Let's Talk episode with my good friend, Jason Robinson. He's here with me. He's a good friend of mine. I've worked with him over when I was in Microsoft, and after I left, we stayed in touch and we've become good friends. So, Jason, thanks for coming on the show, bud.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So the reason I wanted to have you over, I thought that you've been a consistent listener to my show. You've given me some great feedback to work on and to think about, and I really value your opinion. So I wanted to have you on an episode, but I know you're not heavily politically involved. I know that, like, you don't, keep up with it like I do. I kind of listen to this stuff religiously, but I did want to have you on an episode, and so I thought a great episode to have you on would just be kind of like a laid back episode where we can kind of just sit and chat as friends and not really kind of dive too much into politics at all. Just kind of go over some of the stories that are not politically driven, but are just kind of like world events, and we can kind of dive in and just kind of shoot the breeze.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely not as I think we've said in a couple texts back and forth, I'm not as up on all the political news all the time, but obviously that's been one of the benefits of listening to your show and hearing some of your feedback and your guests and everything. It keeps me a little bit more updated than I would otherwise. My wife likes to constantly remind me that because I don't watch the news, not television news, but just keep up on news, that she has to basically give me all my news all the time. So it's been good to be a bit more informed lately. But yeah, this should be fun.
It's nice to have you. Like I've got you set up in my office right here. We've kind of got this pop-up table right here. We've got some whiskeys here. We've been kind of chatting before the show, kind of breaking the ice a little bit, getting relaxed. So yeah, no, it's nice to have you in here. It's nice to have you on the show. And I know one of the topics that you said you would love to talk about is Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah. Notre Dame's a football team.
I said I was going to say Notre Dame, and I immediately said Notre Dame.
Perfect.
Because I watch way too much college football.
And I know nothing about college football. So
there we go.
Both sides of the table, literally and figuratively. I like it.
I was like, I'm not going to say Notre Dame. I'm not going to say Notre Dame.
Very first thing.
First thing I said was Notre Dame.
Perfect.
The Fighting Irish.
Yes.
But no, not the college football team. The story about the terrible fire that engulfed the cathedral in France. It is in Paris?
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So the reason I kind of wanted to just, chat about this is it's actually, to a certain degree personally affecting, and in the sense that it's personally affecting for a number of Americans who, and not just Americans, but people the world over that have, you've probably seen on your Facebook feeds, a number of people that have been reposting their vacation photos and, talking about how, how it's terrible and they're shocked and everything. And of course I was one of those people. I think a little bit of the difference being that some of the conversation that I've heard from some folks, and of course it's the internet, so people are going to live to be offended, but, I saw some mentions of, have you noticed how quickly, the conversation turned from, being sad about the burning of Notre Dame to look at my beautiful vacation photos and how lucky I am to have gone.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
okay,
just another excuse to point to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can understand that line of thinking, but, the way my wife and I, came at the position that kind of we posted our photos and talked about it was, we feel incredibly blessed to have gone when we did, because we went, to Europe. We did, a bit of an extended trip through Europe, in the fall of this past year. And that was, I think we came back about a month, maybe two, before the Yellow Vest riots happened. And
Yeah, you barely missed. You dodged a bullet there, huh?
Definitely. Well, and it's funny, almost
Figurative,
yeah,
and literal.
Yeah, exactly. And a friend of mine, Joel Davis, who actually is the vocalist for Ascend the Hill, he went to Paris and was there during the terrorist attack a couple years ago. And so it was just, it's crazy to think, wow, I know somebody that was there during that thing. And, then you're there. We, thank God, like we didn't have anything happen to us while we were there, except my wife had her luggage go missing in London for about a week. But, we recovered that. That was the worst of it. But, that bringing it back around to kind of the idea, though, that, we feel incredibly blessed that we were, in these incredibly beautiful and affecting places while they were still, it sounds dramatic to say it this way, but for lack of a better term, before they were untouched by these events. And, before Yellow Vest, kind of made their way through different areas in Paris, and before this unfortunate fire, my wife texted me Monday afternoon about 20 minutes after it happened, or after it started. And I basically couldn't focus the rest of the afternoon at work.
Yeah.
And, it felt like a loss, like a personal loss, which is weird because, born and bred American, parents were both in the Navy, it's like, I like to think I'm a, really patriotic guy. Even I may not be the most informed on all the political issues, as you mentioned earlier, but, I love my country.
Yeah.
And to be that affected by something that happened thousands of miles away in another country on another continent, it's very interesting. But it's because we connected with that place. We were there. We lived there for a week.
Yeah.
And we were in the cathedral. We were in the surrounding areas. The piazza that where we stayed was maybe 300 yards from
just
Notre Dame,
in walking distance.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean,
Wow.
you could see
That's
Notre
incredible.
Dame from our balcony.
Wow.
And it just, we were very close, and,
Man.
it's crazy to think that, you can personally connect to something like that. But, I've been encouraging folks this week, if you see somebody that, whether it's on social media or somebody's talking about it, don't just write them off and, you just want to talk about your vacation. Take that and remember that, wow, that's interesting. And that's cool that person was able to be there because they can relate to that. Do that yourself. Travel. That's, I'll probably talk about that later, but just that the idea of traveling, it connects you to places.
Well, and
people.
it is important because I personally haven't had the opportunity to see Notre Dame. And now after this, that is a sinking feeling that I had when I was watching it burn. I was like, wow, this is a beautiful place that I will never be able to see kind of the original, they'll rebuild it. They've already got pledges over $1 billion to renovate it. But I'm never going to see that original version of that cathedral.
Well, unless you play Assassin's Creed, but which actually that was kind of an interesting
Go back
thing
in time.
The developers Ubisoft of that game, they have said that they are putting forth any and all resources that they have from the 3D modeling of the cathedral. They're going to make that available to the rebuilding efforts.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So they're going to be,
because I know they went through great effort to
incredible
get
effort.
that in detail to rebuild that.
Yeah. They 3D
building in the
scanned
game.
and modeled, I mean, as close to, without saying, the unrealistic every square inch,
Right.
As it were, they 3D modeled basically every single aspect of that building to the degree that they were allowed to. And I think, to say that they'll be integral, I think is definitely overselling it.
Yeah.
But I think they will not be a non-factor.
No, that's an incredible
process.
donation to give, to the 3D rendering and 3D modeling of it. But before the fire, that's an incredible donation to get, and will certainly be valuable to the efforts to rebuilding it.
Yeah.
But you were saying that, not only is it tragic to you and many others just on a personal level, just because you've seen it? But I can understand even the level where people are upset just because it is a monument to Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a building that is close to 900 years old.
Yeah. The first part of the building was begun 850 years ago, and it's been, in a certain sense, piecemeal. Different leaders in the church and different artists have taken the pieces and kind of moved construction along. But yeah, 850 years old. That's
that's a mind-boggling. Like, if you actually think about like just how much progress the world has made in 100 years, right? Think about 1920.
Yeah,
that's 100 years.
That's exactly
ago.
what I was thinking of. Was the 20s? You think of the 20s, if for whatever reason, my mind goes to that era a lot when I think of quotes so long ago, and I'm thinking of Prohibition and the era, and call it what it is, but let's just say Hollywood has kind of glamorized that era, at least in the U.S.
Right.
Funnily enough, probably in France and Paris as well, because of the whole movement there. Yeah. That we were actually kind of mimicking a lot of what they were doing there in the 20s here. But, that was, 100 years ago.
Like
next year will be
throw.
100 years from the 20s.
Yeah.
And yet, okay, so let's look at a building, much less a country and a culture.
Right.
That are far older than that. A building. And yeah, we don't want to minimize, the building. I mean, it's a cathedral. I see on a lot of the media that's been going out this week, they've been referring to it as, a cultural monument, and monument is the word that's been thrown around a lot. And it's the heart of France, which, don't also, for people who haven't been, a lot of Americans at least associate the Eiffel Tower with Paris. Really, the Eiffel Tower, as beautiful and amazing as it is, we spent quite a bit of time in that area as well. But Notre Dame is really in the heart of Paris. People live, work, eat, socialize, everything right in that area. Mm-hmm. And it really is, the metaphorical and physical heart of Paris. So, don't think that, because you may not have been, or you may not be super familiar just for lack of, just not being exposed to it. Because it's not everybody's fault that they haven't been.
Flights have gotten pretty pricey over here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's another, I say my wife and I feel very blessed, that we were able to go. And, that's also, it's not, ooh, look at us, we did a long vacation to Europe. No, we saved for 2 years.
Right. Yeah. No,
that was a long time coming, and my wife did a ton of planning and made all of that happen for us. But yeah, that's, it's crazy to think that, I have photos on my phone and in my, cloud streams and everything of the structure and the artwork there that is, unknowns to us yet, a lot of it, maybe all of it, that of the things that I have, at least of the photos, some, if not a lot of it, is gone. Yeah. And they've, the government and the church has, they've talked about how certain elements they have confirmed were saved, like what they believe to be the crown of thorns has been saved. The statues that were on the spire that unfortunately eventually collapsed, those were taken down during the renovation process prior to the fire. So thankfully those were saved. There's a number of things that have been confirmed saved, but I think of the carvings on the exterior. It's inside the cathedral, but on the exterior of that central walkway, for a lack of a better term, because I don't remember all the structural terms that they use. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know all the terms for cathedrals. Believe it or not, I'm not
either.
Catholic,
so you could lie to me, and I wouldn't know.
Yeah. But they have these amazing, huge wooden carvings that are depicting the journey of Christ through his life and his ministry. And one of them very particularly, I remember I took some photos of, and it was the road to Emmaus. And the church that I actually go to is called Emmaus. And so I remember taking photos of it, sending it to my buddy who's the pastor, and, just there being some interesting dialogue there, but that was all wood.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
paint that was probably lead based, based on the age.
Right.
Maybe not, but of all things, I'm also not an art scholar, in case you didn't know. So, but you think of, okay, so the fire was in a lot of the ceiling. A lot of that ceiling collapsed. Not all of it, but a lot of it collapsed.
Well, that was one of the things that I actually got to see live. I was on my phone. I got a text from a buddy who said that Notre Dame. I said it again. Notre Dame was on fire, and so I was like, "Oh gosh, this is a big deal." Then so I pulled up Twitter, and Twitter had live video, and so I sat there and watched it. I was at work, and so I had my phone kind of propped up next to my desk, and I was kind of watching and listening to what I could on the coverage of it, and I saw the spire fall into the into the roof.
Yep.
And so when I first got the text that Notre Dame was on fire, I was like, first thought of me was like, it can't be that bad. Surely they've got it under control. It's terrible that they lost some stuff, I'm sure, but
it's a monument. Somebody will be on it.
Yeah. When I pulled it up, the whole place was engulfed. I was like, oh my gosh, the whole thing is going down.
Yeah.
For
a largely stone building, it's amazing that you wouldn't realize how much of the interior is wood.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't even really thought about that. You see the exterior and everything, and you think wooden pews inside and different things like that, but largely most of the structure is wood
and the attic was entirely wood. They actually referred people inside the staff and people close to the cathedral itself, close to the inner workings of the cathedral, I should say. They would commonly refer to the attic as I believe the forest. Something similar to that. It was the forest, or not the woods, but something like that. Just because of how much wood and all the, ancient timbers that they were using, and each timber for the support structure was carved out of an individual tree. I mean, these things are huge wooden structures. Yeah. It's just it's crazy.
Think about how old that wood is too, not just the building. Think about the wood.
Yeah. Well, and it's nuts to also think of the context in which all of this happened too, because they only just started, from what I was reading, they only just started the renovation process last year.
Yeah.
And when I was there, some of the rafters and everything on the exterior were there, but nowhere near as much as we saw during the fire that had been erected since we've been there. So I'm glad that we had some photos when the building was less obscured, but it's crazy to think, that the renovation process had just started, because the community and the folks, with the project of the renovation, they had been pushing for the last, a little bit of time that, man, this building's falling apart. We've got to do something.
Yeah.
And now that they try to do something about it, this happens.
Yeah.
And
I thought it would be interesting to read a little bit of this, because some new information has come out. I know that originally, which was, it was interesting because you brought it up as one of your bullet points on this topic, is very odd timing for this fire to happen at the beginning of Holy Week, which is why if you paid attention to the story at all, there were some rumors going around that, was this intentional, because it happened right at the beginning of Holy Week on Monday.
Yep. Monday night of Holy Week.
Yeah. And so it was very, I'm not going to say fishy, because I didn't even think that this thing was intentional, because I know they were doing renovations. I was thinking someone left something plugged
construction
in,
worker with a cigarette or a saw got unplugged improperly. You just never know.
Something overheated, an extension cord failed and got too hot and started burning down, or something like that. But it actually turns out, this is according to CBS News, that a computer glitch may have been the cause behind it. So let me read a little bit from what they've got here on CBS News on this computer glitch information here. It says, A computer glitch may have been behind the fast-spreading fire that ravaged Notre Dame, the cathedral's rector said Friday. Speaking during a meeting of local business owners, Rector Patrick Caveat? I'm assuming Chauvet? Oh, well, there we are. Yes, I should assume, yes. Did not elaborate on the exact nature of the glitch, adding that we may find out what happened in 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. This is going to take forever to really find the find the source, I'd assume.
Yeah.
On Thursday, Paris police investigators said they think an electrical short circuit most likely caused the fire. French newspaper. You want to say that, Jason? Because I can't read French.
French newspaper
Has reported that a fire alarm went off at Notre Dame shortly after 6 p.m. Monday. But a computer bug showed the fire's location in the wrong place. The paper reported that the flames may have started at the bottom of the cathedral's giant spire and may have been caused by an electrical problem in an elevator. Chauvet said that there were fire alarms throughout the building, which he described as well protected. The fires burned through the network of enormous, centuries-old oak beams supporting the monument's vaulted stone ceiling, dangerously weakening the building. The surrounding neighborhood was blocked off as stones continued to tumble off the sides of the cathedral after the devastating blaze. I didn't even think about stones falling.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, obviously stone not being flammable, but stone retaining heat.
Yeah, well, it's being held up by the oak beams that are burning.
Yep, that's one of the scariest parts, and that's why it took so long. Aside from the fact that you obviously, as human beings, but also as firefighters who are professionals and know what they're doing, that's why it took them so long to get into the structure, because you can put out the fire, or you can mostly put out the fire, enough in most buildings to get, a few people in to assess damage quickly and then get back out to then further put out more of the fire where they know it is, because they've been able to lay eyes on it. In a situation like this, they weren't able to do that for even longer, because that stone is retaining so much heat that they weren't able to get people into the building or, close to it, much less in the building for a little bit longer than what would have normally been, maybe, a couple hours into the process, once they knew where the fires were centrally located and those sorts of things. That just the whole situation was just, it seems insensitive to say it, but the whole situation was a powder keg.
Yeah, well, literally, the whole thing is made of centuries-old wood, so it's amazing how fast it spread.
Yep.
It's a miracle that the cathedral is still standing and that all the relics were saved. The president of a group of French architects who specialized in a historic monument in historic monuments told BFM television that experts plan to spread a custom-made peaked. I don't even know what that
tarpaulin.
Tarpaulin? I don't know what that is. Tarpaulin across the cathedral's roof, with enough space to also shield workers rebuilding the frame. So I'm assuming just like a tarp.
I'm going to doubt that that's what that means, but this is your show, so I'm going to let you go with tarp.
It says a custom-made peaked tarpaulin across the cathedral.
It could be a tarp. You know what? We have the internet.
I have Google right here. So
that's right. The power went out before the show. Your Wi-Fi should be good to go now.
Tarpaulin. Let's see what a tarpaulin is. Nope. Tarpaulin roof.
You're still not getting that spell. There you go.
It's a tarp.
I'll be danged.
I got images of blue tarps.
That is
here.
Man. Your show indeed.
Oh,
very nice.
Well, there we are. I'm sure it's a bit heavier duty than your Walmart blue tarp, but
no, it's French Walmart. Yeah. Le Walmart tarp.
Le Walmart tarpaulin. All right. Well, now I know that tarpaulin is
Man, that
just
makes
tarp.
me, I mean, obviously I don't know that it can get much sadder about the situation, but that makes me even more sad for the folks that we, have already planned vacations and plan to be in that area or plan travel in general. And they're going to, even with sad photos, just to commemorate their time there, now they're going to have photos of commemorating their time there. And it's going to be a bunch of blue tarps on the top, on the side, on the ceiling and the top.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy.
It is going to be wild. They've also got a headline here that says the yellow vest protests are banned near Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, like, what is that going to do? Banning a protest?
Yeah.
in a
If they
certain
weren't
area?
already,
They're already taking over Paris.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
the yellow vest protests, you're not just going to say, hey, you can go wild in these places, but you can't go over here.
Yeah. Well, banning protesters in particular monumented areas is like having a gun-free zone in here in the U.S.
It's practically inviting
tell
someone
them
to...
not to do it there, but they're just going to do it anyway if they want to bad enough.
That's right. So this headline says Yellow Vest protests banned near Notre Dame. Despite the destruction of Notre Dame dominating the news in France, a new round of the divisive Yellow Vest protests over social inequality was planned on Saturday across the country, including in Paris. The Interior Minister said 60,000 police officers will be mobilized and demonstrations near Notre Dame will be banned as he expects some protests to turn violent.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's already starting to, I mean, the French police are starting to starting to bring out these police forces with live ammunition now.
Yeah.
It's
which is unheard of for
it's
the
getting
French.
very serious.
Yeah. I'm not a fan for the militarization of the police, but
Yeah.
I will be surprised if the French police force doesn't start taking some pages out of some of the unfortunate book that we've been writing over here.
Well, I mean, I tell you that the French have their histories of revolutions.
Yes, they do. A rich history, if you will.
A very rich history of revolutions. And, boy, I tell you.
I think there's a musical that has something to do with that.
I think you're right. But just imagine, like, if someone lets out live ammunition at these Yellow Vest protests and actually shoot one of them, whether it be intentional or unintentional.
I can't even imagine.
Man, you talk about, I mean, Notre Dame being a powder keg.
Yeah.
Like, you think about what that would do.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing you think of, okay, the police reacting, we'll just take our context, here in the U.S. If the police react to a riot here in Florida, okay, if there's live ammunition that is fired, near a crowd, much less into or at a crowd or an individual, yeah, that's a bad day at work. But it's almost, well, you kind of expect it here in the U.S. almost, which is sad to say. It's not to make light of the fact, but it's it's almost par for the course. In France, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and
to think that they're moving in that direction purely to try and quash some of the the rioting that's gone on over there. I mean, that's crazy. I think I was just there months ago, and before even the Yellow Vest rioters were out, and I was able to see,
like you said, a month or two right before it started.
Yeah, I mean, we were, we were at places like the Arc de Triomphe, and now to see fires blazing and Molotov cocktails being thrown in the air, and you look at the charred, the burn marks and the char on some of these places, and just the destruction of these beautiful monuments and beautiful places and incredible architecture and artwork. That stuff's being lost. It's just crazy. But again, thinking through travel, had we not been there, I was hearing a lot of crosstalk here in the U.S. like when the Yellow Vest stuff was happening. Yeah, it's I can't believe those people are rioting, and it's it's so ridiculous. And or the other side of, man, it's great. The people are standing up for themselves, like wherever you land on particular issues. But for me, for me, all I could think of was, man, I can relate to those people.
Yeah.
Not the issue per se, one way or the other, but those people. And, having only spent a week in that particular area, but, living there for a week and saying, okay, wow, I can actually understand why these people feel slighted and why these taxes are a huge burden on them, and the different things surrounding why they were starting to protest and unfortunately began to riot. That's taking it too far, I think, but I don't live there and I can't make that specific call, but I can relate to those people because I know what it was. I saw into their life, even though it was just for a week. I understand that living and working in Paris especially, but France on the whole, I mean, taxes and gas and all the rest that they're protesting for or against, rather, I get it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the main things that kickstarted this whole thing off was a gas tax to kind of curb the use of vehicles, kind of tone down the use of fossil fuels in the country. France has been a major player in the climate change initiative globally. They've introduced these very high gas taxes on their population to, man, I mean, on a global scale, they're not doing anything, but I mean, on a national level, I guess it's just like bragging rights. Like, look what we've done, but look what you have done. Like you've got massive protests that have been going on for, gosh, I mean, it's been has it been a year? It's been 6 months, I'm sure.
It's been a number of months. I definitely know that.
I mean, and it hasn't slowed down. It's actually grown.
Right.
And the French people are growing. These protests don't show any signs of stopping. Eventually this thing's going to boil to a head at some point. I don't know.
Well, there's no king to behead this time. So
yeah, well, I mean, Macron, I don't think he's going to get beheaded. I think he's not going to get, reelected, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised.
His
at this
approval
point.
ratings, last I checked,
the only thing that might save him is his treatment of Notre Dame. How he is reacting or can and will react to this situation, that might be the only thing that saves him at this point.
And the thing is, I mean, I don't even know if that's even a reach to say if it would save him or not. I mean, the last time I saw his approval ratings, they were dipping close to the single digits. For the French population, and so the people do not seem to care for Macron.
Yeah.
So it is going to be interesting to see what happens on all of that. But overall, it's a very sad story. I know there was, the whole kind of weird stuff about the speculation at the beginning of the fire, which kind of just sets the tone of like where we are currently as a nation, and as social media has kind of taken over our lives. We tend to speculate a lot more on like, was this an evil deed? Was this done purposefully?
Rumor mongering and warmongering are the the words of the day, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you started hearing people start to say, was it Muslims that started this fire and retaliation for something? But
yeah. Well, then you see things come out on Twitter and other social media, there's a video online of, some people, quote unquote, they may not have been Muslims, but come on, you're not fooling anybody with your ridiculous argument.
Yeah, just fear mongering.
Yeah. Yelling out Allah Akbar as the spire fell. And then it comes out less than, I think it was definitely within 24 hours. I think it was within a couple hours that, it was immediately refuted. No, this was faked. Come on. Yeah. That's, I'm not the expert. I'm not on the scene, and I can't say with any definition that, no, this was not done intentionally. Do I think it was done intentionally? No. Do I think that whatever we will learn will be some revelation? Probably not. It's probably going to be something real dumb. Yeah. Something very, unfortunately, very disappointing, but at the end of the day, something that is better for all of us anyway.
Right.
Because, we can be disappointed with the less dramatic outcome of something, but at the end of the day, that's actually what's better for us
Yeah.
as a human culture.
No, I agree. It's just social media as a whole has kind of shifted.
If it's not dramatic, it's not interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it, actually. Because not only has it's kind of taken over in the way of sort of like how corporate media has taken over. It's all about clicks and views.
Mm-hmm.
Social media has almost it's fanned the flame on this kind of outrage culture. Is it if you're not saying something that triggers someone else, it's almost not worth posting in a way.
Well,
and that's what it's incentivized, especially on Twitter. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and that seems to be the kind of structure of that app is kind of incentivizes that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to actually watch. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but do you watch Joe Rogan at all?
Never heard of him. No. No,
like his podcast.
Yeah, no. No, I'm obviously familiar with him. I haven't watched much of his stuff or listened to much of his podcast.
Okay. His he recently did a podcast with Jack Dorsey, which is the guy who created Twitter, and they kind of were talking about changes on the platform and the structure and the kind of the censoring of right-leaning ideas and right-leaning profiles on Twitter. And it was a very interesting talk because they basically, in a way, they admitted that they know exactly what they're doing. They're like, thank you for bringing that up. We'll look into that, type thing.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, nod type thing. And it's just very interesting to watch that. If you haven't watched it, I highly encourage it. They got it was Joe Rogan, Jack Dorsey, and one of his staff that kind of heads over the censoring part of Twitter, as well as Tim Pool, which is he's a left-leaning Twitter figure, but he's actually one of the and this is weird to say, but one of the great liberals. There are quite a few great liberals because what they actually call out the BS when they see it.
Okay.
Like, some great ones that I'll say that, like, Tim Pool is great. If you're not following Tim Pool, Glenn Greenwald has been fantastic on the Mueller report and stuff. And so,
Tim Pool 1 and Tim Pool 2 were great movies, and The Crimes of Greenwald were excellent. So I like all these movies.
There you go. But I thought it was interesting I know I went on a tangent with Joe Rogan and Twitter, but with that, it's interesting to see how social media has taken over and really what that whole podcast boiled down to. And at the end of the day, what everyone wanted to hear was about Alex Jones. And the just sweeping ban across all tech platforms within a matter of days that was very obviously coordinated. In
Alex
a way.
who? What? We've never heard of him.
Yeah, they completely eliminated him off of these platforms. And it kind of, if it didn't already kind of come into your head that, like, technically they're not... It's not they're private companies and they can ban whoever they want. They have the right to.
Yep.
And it's not technically a breach of the First Amendment with the freedom of speech. So it's in a very awkward thing, but it's like in these days, if you don't have the ability to be on these platforms and to speak and to say what you want to say,
where else are you going to say it?
Other than the people that you have around you every day, that is a huge thing to take away from someone.
Yeah. Yeah. The world we live in of media consumption and media in all its various forms, whether it be mainstream media, more focused, what I'll just loosely call niche media of, your preferred specific channel, whether it's, a particular cable network or website or whatever. And then obviously all the, massive number of social media outlets, of which there are 30 new, outlets seemingly every day. Media consumption isn't on the rise. It's at an all-time high, it feels like. And it comes down to, with the way that people consume media, people aren't realizing that what they're reading, what they're listening to, what they're seeing and watching, it's somebody's agenda. Mm-hmm. There's, you're fooling yourself. And I could say I pride myself on it, but it's more of a thing that, it just seems, to me, it seems obvious, but I don't know that everybody thinks through this, that, if you don't think that somebody's multi-million, much less multi-billion-dollar corporation that has ad revenue as one of its main goals at the end of the day, if you don't think, and I don't care what side of a particular issue or aisle you're on,
either side,
it does not matter, because as you've said, I'm not always the most up to date on everything politically, but if you can't look at situations objectively and, step back from your opinion, much less someone else's opinion, and stop being offended by them telling you your opinion's wrong, or vice versa.
Right.
If you can't take a step back and say, wait a minute, this group or person is saying this about both of these sides, well, what about this person or this organization that's telling me that thing? They have their own reasons for wording things certain ways or not reporting other things. And a lot of it comes down to how they can get the most ad revenue.
Yeah.
A lot of conspiracy folks will say, that, well, whether it's Fox News or CNN or whatever the particular outlet could be, Twitter itself, all these different places, they have a left-leaning or a right-leaning, or they're, conservative bias, or all these different things. It's like, well, at the end of the day, they have a bias towards making money.
Yes.
And if you don't realize that, you're kidding yourself.
You're absolutely right.
So that's, at the end of the day, whatever side a particular outlet may land on, that's their ultimate goal at this point in human history.
Yeah.
That the idea of the nightly news, the evening newspaper and the morning newspaper delivering your news, and that it was news. It was information from the day.
Right.
That era is largely gone. And you can't say it's gone, because there are still, there are small outlets or even some large outlets that are really trying to do
and the internet has helped that, it used to be where the corporate media had a stranglehold on the news, because it was just, you'd flip on the TV, you had 8 news channels, right? And that's what you had. But now with the internet, you have unlimited options. I mean, you can really, and that's why I tell people to follow many various different sources. Like, find yourself 2 left-wing sources, very biased left-wing, find yourself 2 very biased right-wing, and find some right down the middle.
Yeah. Well, especially even on the internet, because, the way that algorithms work with, internet outlets, with as far as, IP providers. I went to the ATM machine earlier and talked about my IP provider. Good night. Internet providers themselves, much less the actual, websites and things like that. I mean, again, their goals are to get more clicks, which is for advertising purposes. Even if it's the smaller ones and the altruistic places that aren't really caring so much about the ad revenue, they want to get themselves in front of more viewers. So they develop, with people that are brilliant with coding and everything else, they develop algorithms to deliver you news that you want to see or that will piss you off.
Yeah.
And, it's not incredibly...
Whatever gets the clicks.
Exactly. And, that's, again, if you're not recognizing that that's a thing, to your point, you have to have varied news sources, because you can't just trust your echo chamber.
No. And that's one of the things where that's something that Twitter almost incentivizes as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Incentivizes it. Yeah.
I mean, it shows you the people you follow and things, associated to those things. So like everything that, you follow several different right wing or several different left wing people, all of a sudden, all you're hearing, and if a lot of people go to Twitter for the news, like to see what people are talking about, see what the big stories are. I mean, that's one of my first stops to see like what's the big story on the day. It's the fastest
way to get it.
It's the fastest way to get it. It's a one-stop shop to see everything. And it is a big problem. And I think it's so interesting where we're living in a time where conversation could not be more open and available to everyone on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost one of the most destructive forms of conversation available.
Yeah.
It's through social media, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook. It's just a mess.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I recently wrote a paper on a similar topic about, mass media and media in general. And, mass media doesn't really mean much of anything these days, because mass media just means any form of media that is in front of the masses. So that's whether it's TV, newspaper, Twitter, Facebook, all of it is included in that. For me, it all boils down to we're talking at each other and not to each other.
Yeah.
We don't know how to... The ideas of rhetoric and argumentation in 2019, rhetoric is a negative term.
Yeah.
And argument is a negative term.
Yeah.
Those are both words that have actual meanings that do not necessarily imply negativity. Rhetoric is what you use to defend a position. Rhetoric is what philosophers began in the process of argumentation, which again, argumentation is discourse. Yeah. That is one party standing up and defending. They're presenting what they think is true or a point of view, and giving defense to it. And at the same time / just after you've presented your position, listening to somebody who thinks differently. Yeah. The fact that all we do is monologue, and whether it's whether it's me monologuing to you or me monologuing in a certain sense of only reading what you would write or what you would, if I only ever listened to your podcast for my news, that's a terrible way to do anything. Like,
sure
as
is.
Great as, you're one of my best friends and I love you to death. And I find myself agreeing with a lot of what you say and having similar stances and opinions, but man, like, we can't let ourselves just have one form of input and just be like, he's right. That's fine.
That's a terrible way to do it. That's a terrible way to do it. Don't assume everything I say is wrong. Look it up for yourself. That's what I tell. I've said that on my show before. I was like, look, you can take my word for what it is. I've made pretty clear that, I have a right leaning bias. I kind of align myself in the libertarian field, which is supposed to be down the middle, but it's assumed, by a majority of the left it's right wing, it's extreme right wing, everything right of what they are is extreme right wing. So, but I mean, don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself, form your own opinion, and look, like what you said, look at multiple sources. Like, I go to CNN and I trash on CNN and NBC, but I go to them to see what they have to say, even though they're garbage. Yeah. But I go to them, and I go to Fox News, and I go to some independent sources and kind of gather my opinions that way. Yeah.
Well, and, every now and then you're bound to come across, whether they're staff or freelance, there's going to be somebody that posts an article of some sort that would blow your mind as to, holy cow, this got published on this outlet.
This is on CNN. No, I have. I've seen several, what would you call them? Journalists on CNN and NBC, where I've seen a couple of their articles, and I'm like, holy cow. Yeah. It's not, you start to say these kind of all encompassing labels. Right. And you start to find some diamonds in the rough in these places.
Well, and following your pod on gun control a few weeks ago, I had texted you the morning that you posted it that it was hilarious timing, because my final research argumentation for one of the classes that I'm in. By the way, 36 years old, decided to go to college a couple years ago. Great decision.
College is too expensive. Listen, you don't have to go to college. If you do go to college, go to
community college where it's
college.
affordable. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm doing a report on a research paper rather. On
How did that go? Is it done or is it?
It's basically wrapped up.
Nice.
And that was great timing. And I really appreciated, the sentiments from you and your guest that week. That was perfect timing. But I actually found, and it kills me that I didn't think to put this together. Of course, how could I have known we would have gone down this really long rabbit trail? But the one of the articles that I found and drew from and cited was a HuffPost article, and it was pro what I will just loosely say is our quote, I'm using big air quotes here, our position on gun control, that it kind of doesn't make sense, but that there are some ideas that should be, brought into consideration, and that, responsible gun owners are just that, responsible. I mean, we abide by the 10 commandments of gun handling, and, to the point that it's called the 10 commandments. Like, there's enough reverence there.
They're written on stone tabs.
Right. But, you're bound to find something even on outlets that you wouldn't necessarily think you agree with. Yeah. To kind of bring that back around. Like, you have to use multiple sources.
The op-ed section on some of those places can be wonderful. If you just sift through the garbage, because the op-ed section can just that can be you're going into the wilderness there. But you're absolutely right. We went on a long tangent there on social media and everything, but one of the things I did want to talk about, because we are starting to come up on our time here. One of the little things that we did want to talk about was, which you've heard this now that I've sent it to you. This song, it's a new song that's kind of taken the internet by storm.
It's the best.
It's called Old Town Road.
I'm telling you right now, I played this song for my wife on our way over to your house, and she hates it. And you can relate because your wife hates it.
My wife does hate the song.
I don't know if it's a disease that wives have, or if it's just a lack of morals, upright standing on their part. But man, this song's garbage, but it's such an earworm, and it's so catchy that I can't stop listening to it, man. Like, it's so dumb. It's like trashy TV, my wife will watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette with her mom, and she knows it's not good television. It's not quality, but you know what? It's just a fun watch. It's a guilty pleasure. That's basically what this is for me with music right now.
It really is. The background on this, if you don't know what the song is, or if you haven't heard the song yet, it's called Old Town Road. It's by this kid that goes by the name of Lil Nas X. That's Lil Nas X.
That's right.
And it's called Old Town Road. And essentially what he's done is he has merged country with trap.
Yeah.
In a way.
He sampled, so the fun bit about this, and my favorite part, I think, about this entire story is that, you texted me Wednesday. As we're recording this, it's Friday night. You texted me Wednesday and asked if I had heard the song Old Town Road. And I had seen and heard with podcasts and the news and just, any form of internet access that I think you have. If you're paying attention, you've at least seen a reference to it, even if you didn't know what it was. And I was like, no, I've been kind of holding off to just, I didn't know why I hadn't listened to it, but I just hadn't. Call it the curmudgeon in me, because I'm really curmudgeon-y. I'm not going to listen to it because everybody wants me to. But so I listened to it, and I had it on repeat for a half hour. And
it is a short. It's a short song.
2.5 minutes. And by the time, if you don't hate it, because of course I think a lot of your listeners will probably just hate it, and not your listeners specifically, but just listeners of anything that could hear that song. I think a lot of people won't like it for whatever reason, but Yeah, it's 2.5 minutes. If you even if you halfway enjoy it, by the time you get into it, the song's over. I'm telling you, just put it on repeat before you even press play, and you'll be happy. And you can listen to it for about 10 minutes, and then just don't ever listen to it again. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck in your head for a week, like it has been with me.
I wonder, do you think? I don't know too much about the restrictions on this. Do you think my episode will get pulled if I play this?
Do you put your show on YouTube?
No. It's on Apple Podcasts.
There's a lot of conflict because I was looking this up as well. There's a lot of conflicting evidence online. Technically, it would be illegal to put it up, but the general consensus is
if I play
20 to 30 seconds or less, you're fine.
Okay,
but it's your show.
So what I'll do is I'll just play a clip of this then.
Nice,
and then we can. Because what I'll do is I'll break it up because I don't want to play it all the way through.
Yeah, let's give him
I'll give him a
bit of the verse into the chorus.
Yeah. So we're. Oh, and by the way, before I what I don't want to do is give you this without a little bit of context behind this song.
Yeah.
So this kid created this song. To the best of my knowledge, he posted it on YouTube, and from what I gathered, it had.
So do you want the story?
Yeah. Do you know the story in full?
This is this is what I forgot to circle back around, as my wife will tell you that I often do. You texted me about this earlier in the week. I knew nothing about it other than it was basically a meme at this point.
Yes. It had taken the internet
I
by
fell
storm.
into the black hole of this song so hard that I looked up all the history of this song. So what happened with this song? So Lil Nas X, and forgive me, I forgot to put his name down because he has a real human name. But his performer name of Lil Nas X, he's an Atlanta rapper who got his start on Twitter with a Nicki Minaj fan account.
She has fans? My wife, that's obviously a joke. She has many fans.
Is it a joke?
My what's a joke is my wife likes Nicki Minaj. Oh wait, no, she likes. I just lied. I think she likes Cardi B.
Don't misrepresent your
Cardi.
wife.
And I understand that Cardi B and Nicki Minaj have a beef. So me saying that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So no, my wife I don't think is a fan of Nicki Minaj.
I'd like to address a formal apology on behalf of Keaton Tucker and Freedom Strips for any misdirection.
I'm sorry. I know you don't like Nicki Minaj, but I know she likes Cardi B because she likes how she does the.
Wow. I have never heard a more white attempt at a thing that a white guy couldn't do.
I don't know how she does it.
That's pretty funny.
I can't roll my R's.
You wouldn't make it. You wouldn't make it anywhere but the U.S. But so yeah, so this guy, and I'll say kid probably accidentally because it's 19 years old and I'm 36, so I feel like I'm ancient. But so this kid gets a start on Twitter with a Nicki Minaj fan account, starts getting a lot of traction there, lots of clicks and likes and whatever the kids like on Twitter these days. And so he kind of got a lot of exposure online that way, got very well versed in kind of being a personality online. Yeah. Got to start there. Then he released this song in its original form in December on SoundCloud. And very quickly thereafter, it migrated. And it's unclear whether he migrated it or it just somebody found it on SoundCloud, which is probably how it happened.
Did it hit Reddit and that's how it caught fire?
The internet happened.
Okay. Usually Reddit is if it goes on Reddit and then it starts to catch fire, that's when it goes everywhere.
So it somehow migrated from being uploaded as a song on SoundCloud to being featured on TikTok, which is another meme site for the youth. That
for the youth. I'm gonna do my Bernie Sanders.
That's right. I can't believe that I'm actually saying these words out loud. So the song released, then made its way onto TikTok as the soundtrack to the Yeehaw Challenge, wherein participants are transformed into cowgirls and cowboys after drinking yee juice. Actually, which as I say that, let me get some yee juice here.
Drink a little bit of that whiskey there.
That's better. So they drink their yee juice, they become a cowboy or a cowgirl, and they have some fun on TikTok. I don't know. So then that happened in December was when the song was released on SoundCloud.
In December?
December.
Really? That long
I
ago?
had no clue about it until probably 2 weeks ago. Maybe a week and a half.
Yeah.
Something around there. And then I started hearing about it on a couple podcasts and general online murmuring. I saw some references to it. So then on April 5th, the new release of the song is a remix featuring Billy Ray Cyrus of Achy Breaky Heart fame.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're old enough to get that reference.
I know Achy Breaky Heart.
Okay,
right?
good. So with Billy Ray Cyrus signing on to do the remix, which I don't know if you can call it a remix when it's the exact same song, just featuring Billy Ray Cyrus in 2 vocal parts instead of the original vocal.
So,
but we'll call it a remix, sure.
It's not really a remix.
It's not.
It's just him adding in some stuff to the song.
It has been remixed.
Yes.
It's not a remix.
Right.
In the studio term, it has been mixed again.
Yes. Mixed a second time with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Right.
But what's interesting is it's my understanding that this song, however it caught fire on the internet, just blew up. And it actually reached the top of the streaming charts.
Yeah.
However, it reached the top of the streaming charts labeled as country.
Country music.
And thus the controversy began.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the song, and I'll play it, I know we'll get to the clip eventually. When I play the song, very obviously not country. Something you wouldn't label as country. However, it has country elements to it.
Oh, it is undoubtedly country, and I say that with like an extended Y, like it's country-y, it's country-ish.
Right.
But this is where I actually side with Billboard's decision to remove it from the country charts. That, you know, and it's funny because Billy Ray Cyrus and a number of other country musicians have come out and said, you know, they're actually in support of it being on the country charts, and I think that's because of all the mainstream genres in modern music, country music is one of, you can't say the only, but one of the genres that takes themselves seriously the least.
Yeah.
In a good
really
way.
is.
Like
yeah.
they're good natured.
Right.
There's some out there that are stoic and they're going to, you know, be a little too serious about their craft, but they're really good natured. They have fun with their music and they do lots of fun collaborations. And it's not to say other genres don't, but they, as is evidenced in this, that I saw a video of Keith Urban playing a 6-string banjo doing a live stream cover of this song. Like, you know, there's a number of country artists that have embraced this song, and let's be honest, it's because they want to get a little bit more
they want to
clicks
catch a little
and
bit
likes
of that fire,
and more attention exactly during this moment of popularity.
Sure.
Yeah, so it was pulled from the country charts because it didn't have enough elements that would qualify it as country.
Right.
It
more fell into the hip hop.
Yeah.
level.
And so, you know, Billy Ray Cyrus, who, as we've discussed, you know, he's heavily featured on the remix as the main vocal feature as far as the singing part. And he even came out and said, you know, it heavily features banjo. What's more country than that? Which
right.
it's hard to disagree with.
He's got a point.
But one, the banjo not being played by a country artist, being played by none other than 9 Inch Nails, because the sample of this song is from a 9 Inch Nails song.
Oh my God.
Called Ghosts. And I'm going to assume this is Roman numerals, Ghosts 4-34.
Yeah.
I'm not incredibly familiar with 9 Inch Nails' work for all of their library, but I did take a listen to a bit of the song, and for sure that is sampled from their
sample?
song. So the beat maker,
thought?
the beat maker Keo, who, if you listen really closely to the very front end of the song, you can hear the little Keo kind of thing that comes in at one part. That's the beat maker putting his little stamp on the song. So he originally uploaded this beat that he referred to in retrospect as a garbage throwaway beat. He did not expect anything to happen with this beat.
My God.
He put it on, I forget what the name of the site was, but it's basically a site where you can sell your beats at pretty low prices for artists who just need a beat to use how they need to. He uploaded it and never really expected anything to happen. And of course he made his little bit of money from it initially. And just like as is common with most artistic endeavors, those types of sales are one time only. So, unfortunately this guy made his $5 or whatever. But it might have been more than that. But, so
this song has been streamed millions of times.
Yeah. At the report that I saw earlier today, it was over 143 million streams this week.
Oh my God.
This
140 million?
It's one of 4 songs to ever hit over 1 million streams I think it was in a week, might have been in a month, but this song has topped Drake's In My Feelings at this point in the amount of streaming. So it's sampled from, like I said, from 9 Inch Nails. And the thing so coming back around to why I think that this, why Billboard was right to take it from the country charts is that, okay, so it features banjo. The remix features Billy Ray Cyrus. The lyrical content, even from the original version, which was just the other vocal part and the actual rapping part by Lil Nas X, it's very country, equivalent as far as the lyrical content. It seems like it's right in their wheelhouse. But musically, and as a musician and as a 36-year-old white man who's about as white as you can get, but that loves hip hop. And the specific genre I'm referencing is hip hop. Not, I like a lot of different kinds of music, but hip hop specifically because it uses sampling. It has a lot more musicality to it. The lyrical content is more interesting. It's not just content for content's sake. The absolute determining factor why this was pulled, to my mind, is that it's sampled, and that is uniquely hip hop. You can have a country artist, you can have a quote country instrument, and you can have country related lyrical content. But as soon as you put a sample to a beat that is intrinsically like hip hop sounding, it's not country. Now, do I love this song? Weirdly, yes. And is it super country? Yes.
And is it weird? It is weird. It's not meant.
Oh, it's super weird.
It's just it's a purely internet driven song if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Because, and what I want to do is I want to play a little bit of this just so the listeners can hear it if they haven't heard it. I can't play the whole thing, but the whole thing is like 2 minutes, guys. Go on Spotify, listen to it.
Spotify, YouTube it. Ask your kid.
It's on there. If you haven't heard it already, what I'll do is I'll play a little bit of this just so you can hear it here. And this is the Billy Cyrus remix.
I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
Sounds super country right now.
It does. It's got Billy Ray right on there.
And then 4, 3, 2, 1.
I got the horses in the bag. Horse stock is attached.
This is no longer country music. That's I love it. And you can pull from it. You can pull from any reference or any culture or what have you. But yeah, that's
and the lyrics in this, when you actually you listen to the lyrics in this, it is fantastic.
I was laughing out loud by myself in my car listening to this song for the first time. I could not believe how dumb / hilarious / brilliant these lyrics are.
It's just it's so fantastic. I mean, one of the lines is riding on a tractor, lean all in my bladder. Cheated on my baby. You can go and ask her. You can go and ask her. And then cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty.
Yes.
It's so good.
Man.
It's fantastic. It's a great listen. It gave me a great laugh, and I understand why it blew up, because it is just so funny. And Billy Ray Cyrus getting on this train early like he did was when they pulled him from the country charts. Billy Ray Cyrus is like, hold my beer. And was just like,
well, yeah, people
I'll
are
take
talking
this kid in, and like, I'll make it country, and I'll do a dub in here, and I'll sing on the song. And
well, the fact that we are on a podcast, regardless of general content that your show is usually about, the fact that a podcast or anyone is talking about Billy Ray Cyrus in 2019 is astounding.
Boy, you are not wrong.
A brilliant move, whether it was him or his agent or Hannah Montana telling him, Dad, you need to get on this. You know, it unbelievable.
Crazy. I would not think, not in a million years would I be talking about Billy Ray Cyrus right now, but here I am.
Listen, just don't tell my achy breaky heart. I just don't think he'd understand.
Oh my goodness. We're coming up on our time here, but I do want to still talk about this last story here, because when I invited you on the show, I knew we were going to talk about Notre Dame. I knew we were going to talk about this sensational song from Lil Nas.
Mm-hmm. Artistry.
Complete pure art out of that. I was on Twitter, as I normally am, looking at the top stories of the day. And when I was looking on Twitter, one of the top stories, the headline was, "Why Carl's Jr. is testing out a CBD burger."
All right, so tell me what CBD is.
So
I'm an old guy.
right,
I don't know these things.
Let me give you what the actual name of CBD is. So, cannabidiol is what it's called. Cannabidiol. So essentially, it's the ingredient in marijuana that is not the psychoactive ingredient.
Okay, so not THC.
It is not THC. Okay, so it's CBD, which is what, when you hear the term medical marijuana, most states, I believe at this point, or many states have CBD legalized. Like, you can go to a local smoke shop and buy CBD drops. You can buy CBD gummies. Essentially what it is it's just an oil that you can take as a supplement. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it helps with anxiety. It helps with aches and pains if you have like joint pain, or if you have cramps, or if you're just trying to relax. If you have trouble sleeping, it helps you relax. Think of it like a herbal tea, essentially, is what it is. However, it's from the marijuana plant, so it's controversial.
Yeah, of course it is.
However, Carl's Jr. is testing out a CBD burger. So I've got this article up here from CNN. I'm going to read a little bit of this just so you can kind of get the context. This is a 1-day thing, by the way. So of course they're releasing it on 420.
Oh, thank you.
So they're only going to be selling it on 420, but what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to test it out and see if they can actually put this on a permanent menu.
The Hardee's Carl's Jr. grill is going to just blaze.
Yes. So the chain said on Wednesday that it will sell the Rocky Mountain High cheeseburger.
Oh, that name is so good. I'm a huge fan of really crappy, dry humor and dad jokes. That makes me so happy.
The Rocky Mountain High Cheeseburger Delight.
Oh,
that's what it's called.
Delight at the very
Delight
end.
at the very end. So the burger will be sold in one location in Denver, Colorado for just 1 day.
So is that one location meaning Denver, or is that like one restaurant in Denver?
I'm assuming location is going to be like the Denver area.
All of Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. I just imagine that one Hardee's being slammed that day.
No, yeah, I can't imagine that it would just be one store.
Yeah.
One location in Denver, Colorado makes sense.
Of course, I think all fast food on 420 in Denver is going to be slammed that day anyway.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. Man, when we took our trip to Colorado,
it doesn't matter that it's legal now. That's just the celebration day.
We were driving
even more than it was.
We were driving down Colorado, and we were actually heading to Boulder, and we had the windows rolled down. We were just driving through Denver, and we passed like 4 marijuana treatment plants
Nice.
where they were extracting the oils and making their gummies and everything they sell.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoosh,
Yeah.
weed just coming.
And all of a sudden your wife started calling you bro. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah.
So this burger is going to be only located in Denver, Colorado for just one day. So of course that one day is going to be April 20th.
Yeah.
420. So the burger features a sauce that is infused with CBD or cannabis
sauce.
It's the sauce. So that's how they're kind of getting that ingredient.
Man, that's
in
even
there.
just a great name for CBD anyway.
The sauce.
Yeah, I think that needs to be what people colloquially call CBD oil from now on.
The sauce.
Let's get some sauce. Well, I guess sauce is kind of already liquor, so maybe that doesn't work. Dang
Yeah,
it. I thought I was onto something.
Well, it still could be.
Hashtag CBD sauce.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So again, that's not the psychoactive ingredient. That's just the ingredient that is medically helpful.
chill, bro.
Makes you very relaxed. Makes you. I mean, this is stuff that you can take if you get you can go and legally buy CBD nearly everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can buy the CBD isolate and all that kind of stuff. You can put it into your food and your drink. If you have like chronic pain and stuff, you can use it that way.
You could probably find it in like an eyedropper on a kitchen counter somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere like that. And I mean, this is stuff that you can take and pass a drug test tomorrow. So, I mean, it's completely legal, completely safe.
Oh, okay, because it's not the THC part.
It's not the THC, so you can pass a drug test.
Man.
It's not illegal.
You see, Keaton, you teach me new things every week.
That's it. You can take it and go to sleep and have a good night's sleep and not have to worry about a drug test.
Nice.
So it says, though the promotion is limited, it is not a stunt.
I don't believe that.
It is absolutely a stunt. To say it's not is just kind of silly.
In terms.
It's very silly.
It's limited, but it's not a stunt.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
Continue.
this is a very big stunt, and to their point, it is a big experiment.
Yeah.
The burger chain is using the test to determine whether a CBD burger belongs on its permanent menu, said the vice president of brand marketing for Carl's Jr. He said, quote, "It is something that feels right for the brand," he told CNN Business. "We are all about innovation." This is certainly innovative.
So I'm looking at a little breaking the fourth wall here. So I'm looking at our show notes, and the senior VP of brand marketing's name is Patty.
His name
for
is
a
Patty.
burger joint.
Yeah.
That is this doesn't get, but actually it could get better, because I'm sad to say that the tagline in no part of this marketing is the phrase "it's CBD-licious."
Oh yeah, that's
Like,
that's
I
pretty
mean, maybe
good.
that's part of the experiment, is to see, if it catches on, then they can put money into amazing catchphrases.
Well, the market
Copyright,
already
trademark, Jason Robinson, 2019.
that's right. Go ahead.
CBD-licious.
Yes,
Man, I
please
need to
put your
buy a
stamp on that.
website, cbdelicious.com.
Oh God,
I bet you
need
that's
to go
available.
on like GoDaddy right now and see if
Yes.
that's available.
I won't do
Right
that.
after. Well, I will purchase it.
I'm just saying I'm
if you
very
will.
lazy. I probably
Okay.
will forget.
Tell you what, if you forget and I buy it, we'll just split the profits.
That's
there.
fine.
So let me move on here. So food, beverage, and other consumer goods companies have been trying to figure out how to capitalize on the growing interest in ingredients like CBD. The CBD has a huge market.
Yeah.
Consumers are increasingly seeking products that offer an extra something, like an increased energy or a better gut health. CBD may fit that bill. Some studies suggest that the CBD can help treat inflammation, pain, anxiety, seizures, etc. Carl's Jr. isn't promoting any possible functional benefits of CBD. However, it's
We're
just
not saying it works or does anything, but we're absolutely going to capitalize on the fact that you all think it does.
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
So Carl's Jr. is hoping to please their customers who have been said to be interested in their new trends. It's also chasing, quote, future Carl's Jr. customers that are younger. They are more open to different flavors and products. as well as benefits of trendy ingredients.
Subtext, they're more open to weird stuff.
Yeah. But I think this is a great idea for Carl's Jr. And they've kind of been on the front lines of like trying new stuff. So, I mean, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, even when it comes to their advertising, I mean, some years back, I mean, they were incredibly blatant in their over sexualization of
The
a burger.
Yeah.
Like they'd have incredibly scantily clad women in very provocative poses and, having the sauce dripping down into, seemingly inappropriate ways and things like that. It's funny, it's dumb, it's inappropriate, but man, they pushed the envelope and return on investment. They had a lot more people get interested in their brand, not because of some sexy girl in a commercial, but because they were like, oh, that's right. That's the place that had the funny commercial. Let me go eat a burger there instead.
And what could rival the money market as much as scantily clad women? Marijuana. And burgers infused together.
The only thing that might give them an edge is if they had yee juice on the side.
So I guess final question before we close the podcast. CBD burger, pro, con? Would you try it? Would you eat one?
With the knowledge and to a previous comment that I had about that you all think, quote unquote, that it works. I have no idea about this stuff. Like I'm so straight laced. It's not that I'm looking down on and saying anything is bad or good. I'm indifferent. To know that this kind of stuff is becoming more and more prevalent in the market. I know I was, saying I didn't know what CBD oil was earlier. I recently became more aware of it. But the knowing kind of where it is in the marketplace, where it is legally, and I work in some financial areas of the market, and to know that a lot of banks are actually refusing to do payment processing on the backside of businesses that openly sell CBD oil. There are a number of banks that are not comfortable with it yet, even though it's perfectly legal. Knowing where it is legally as far as the substance itself, I'd have no problem. That I would, because
would you eat one though?
It's flavorless oil in a sauce on a burger by Carl's Jr., which for us down here in the South is Hardee's, which quite frankly, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference, because as good as their stuff is, it's so greasy and so fatty. You'd never know. So you could have given me a CBD burger tonight and I would not have known the difference until I went to sleep and slept until the next day at noon. There's no way I would know.
I think this is a good idea, man. I think, people are obviously going to, I think they're going to see a major return on investment for this experiment.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I don't know what the restaurant scene is like in Denver, Colorado. I know there's good food over there, but I mean, is everyone chomping at the bit to go to Carl's Jr.? Probably not. But are they going to think about that on 420?
For sure. You have even just a little bit of marketing towards something like that, and the rest of the country may not be wholly aware of that's happening. Of course, the internet knows, and it'll make the rounds. But I think you get something like this on a day like 420, that is purely marketed to people that are pro cannabis.
I think it's a great idea.
They're going to make a lot of money, and because of where the substance is legally and health wise, as far as like what it's been proven to do and not do, there's no reason you're not getting high. I appreciated your guest. I think it was last week or the week before, the officer that you had on. That his position, I'm pretty similar. That hey, listen, I may have a particular opinion on drugs, of various degrees, but what you do and what you put into your body is your business. Now, for me, if it's against the law, I'm not going to do it. Cause again, I'm straight laced, kind of just, that's just how I've always been. But, I think that they're going to make a lot of money, and it's, even if they don't make a ton of money, it's worth it to run that experiment.
Yeah, I think so.
Cause I think the market is primed for something like that. USDA choice primed.
Yeah.
For something like that.
Well, I think this boils down into a bigger thing. You know, I tend to try to expand things probably bigger than they really are, but this is capitalizing on something that I think eventually, and not too far down the road, this whole thing is going to be legalized, not just the CBD, the THC aspect of it as
Edibles will become the main way that people take this in the
and
future.
I think this is all going to be legalized fairly quickly. My kind of hunch that I'm thinking about, I think Trump's in trouble in 2020, and I think the ace that he has in the back pocket is legalizing this stuff.
Really? You think as far right as his constituency is, because I still hold that, I don't know, and again, I'm not the most informed, but I have this sneaking suspicion that he's a closet Democrat, and based on
he's always
interviews
been.
and things in the past,
Yeah.
maybe this was
he's a faux Republican.
Yeah, and maybe this was something that I read that somebody misrepresented, but I know that I read something more than a couple years ago now, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, that he had done an interview at one point saying something along the lines of, if I were ever to run for president, I would run as Republican because then I could change things from the inside. I don't know if any of that's true.
No,
but
well, the thing, there's
the guy is scarily smart for as dumb as he is.
Well, that's the thing,
or as dumb as he lets himself appear, at least.
Yeah,
it's really his.
Trump's so interesting just because I've kind of written him off already, but he's so interesting in the way of people call him stupid, but he's not stupid.
Right.
He's the best way I've heard it described actually is with Dave Smith. I listened to Part of the Problem. That's the main podcast I like to listen to. He described Trump as a winner. And that's what kind of Trump...
Oh, that is 100... That's how he would describe himself.
Yeah, well, that's what Trump describes himself as.
He's obsessed with winning and self-preservation.
And he's good at winning.
At all costs.
He is so good at winning.
Yeah.
You can't say that guy's not smart, because he's not stupid.
No, he's not.
He is smart.
Yeah.
He's stupid in certain ways.
He says some dumb things and makes some dumb decisions in certain arenas, but the guy's not stupid.
He knows, man.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He is.
Well, you can't collude with Russia and
he's
be
a
stupid.
winner. Yeah.
Jokes, folks, jokes.
So that's where I'm going to wrap up the podcast here. CBD burger, I would absolutely try it.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of something you're going to see more and more and more. CBD incorporated into some of this stuff. And, you know, if Trump gets into a pickle and he feels like he's in danger.
Sorry, go ahead.
If he feels like he's in danger in 2020, I feel like he could pick that out of his back pocket and basically guarantee himself 2020 if he legalizes this.
Yeah. People are already favoring him to eke out a win.
Barely. Man, I think he's in serious trouble. I think he's in serious trouble in 2020.
I do too.
And he doesn't help himself.
No.
However, I think if he legalizes this, he's guaranteed. He's done. Like 2020, you can put it in the books. If Trump legalizes marijuana, he will get it.
He'll have to change Trump Tower from gold to green, though.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, Jason, thank you for coming on, bud. It was a blast to talk to you. Hopefully you guys found this enjoyable to listen to. This was a little bit of a laid-back episode, just another Let's Talk episode. Well, if you guys are interested and like to share with your friends, we're located on Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to like us on Facebook. We love to grow our audience there, as well as be sure to rate us and like us on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. So we'll see you on the next episode of Freedom Strips. Later, guys. Boom.
That's
there
that.
We are.
How long was that?
We made it an hour and a half.
Holy crap!